إذا كنت تريد أن تكون على مذهب السلف تعلم مذهب السلف.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على مبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. So we continue بإذن الله تعالى with where we left off. We reached the third principle wherein Shaykh al-Islam Mohammad bin Abd rahimahullah ta'ala says, القاعدة الثالثة أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ظهر على أناس متفرقين في عباداتهم، منهم من يعبد الملائكة، ومنهم من يعبد الأنبياء والصالحين، ومنهم من يعبد الأشجار ومنهم من يعبد الأحجار والأشجار، ومنهم من يعبد الشمس والقمر، وقاتلهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ولم يفرق بينهم. That is the third principle, that the Prophet ﷺ encountered people differing in their worship. Amongst them were those who worshipped the angels, and some who worshipped the prophets and righteous ones, and from them were those who worshipped trees and stones, some who worshipped the sun and the moon. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, that he fought against all of them and did not differentiate between them. And the evidence is his statement subhanahu wa ta'ala, and fight them until there is no more fitnah, no more disbelief and worshipping of others besides Allah, and all of the deen is for Allah alone. So Shaykh al-Islam al-Mujaddid Mohammad bin Abd rahimahullah ta'ala, that he began with this amazing principle, and this third principle, wherein he now clarifies to us that there is no difference as pertains to shirk. That we do not differentiate between the one who associates partners with Allah Azza wa Jal, whether that shirk be in relation to or be alongside the trees or the stones, those inanimate objects, or whether he be one who worships the prophets or the angels, or calls upon the righteous ones, that all of it is considered as shirk, that all of it is considered one, is considered as shirk. So again, he rahimahullah ta'ala clarified to us in this principle the qubh, the repulsiveness and the falsehood of a shirk. And he done that by showing us that the mushrikun, that they are not even united upon one object of worship, that they cannot even agree upon one object of worship that they commit shirk in, but rather they themselves are disunited, and that they worship all types of things. And this shows you the qubh, the repulsiveness of a shirk, and that shirk no doubt is falsehood. And to clarify this as well, we mentioned the ayah, or the two ayahs mentioned in Surah Yusuf, where he said subhanahu wa ta'ala, يا صاحب السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار. O two companions of the prison, are many different lords better, or Allah, the one, the irresistible? ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن الحكم إلا لله أمر ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه ذلك الدين القيم وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. You do not worship besides him except names that you have named and that you have forged, you and your fathers, for which Allah has sent down no authority. The command or the judgment is for none but Allah alone, and He has commanded that you worship none but Him, يعني Tawheed, and that is the deen, that is qayyim, that is the true, the straight religion, but most of the people know not. طيب, so the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he fought against all of them, and he fought against those who used to worship trees and statues, and he fought against those likewise who used to worship the prophets and the messengers and the angels and the righteous ones, that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he did not distinguish between them. And likewise, in this principle is a rad, is a refutation upon those who say, those who claim that calling upon the dead and seeking assistance from them is not the same as worshipping trees and statues and idols. Now, do they say that there is a difference, or they try to distinguish between the worship of idols and statues and calling upon the dead and seeking assistance from those who they deem to be the righteous? And they say that there is a difference between them. So therefore they do not class what they do as shirk. They do not class their calling upon the dead and seeking assistance from the dead, that they do not consider that to be the same. So they say therefore it is not classed as shirk. And this principle is a clear refutation upon them. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ, that he never distinguished between them, and that he classed it all as shirk, all as associating partners with Allah Azza wa Jal, regardless of what the actual object of worship was in and of itself, regardless of whether they used to worship trees and statues, or if they would worship righteous ones and prophets and messengers and angels, that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he never distinguished between it. طيب, and Allah Azza wa Jal commanded us in Surah An-Nisa. He said subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Worship Allah and associate nothing with Him. Worship Allah alone and associate nothing with Him. And this shay'a, this word here, shay'a, means absolutely nothing. That we associate nothing with Allah Azza wa Jal in terms of partners and in our ibadah, in our worship of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the shay'a, that includes, is inclusive of everything, regardless of that be statues and idols, or if that be the angels and the messengers and the righteous ones. That this includes all of that, that nothing is to be associated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ibadah, in worship. طيب. Then Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned the ayah in Surah Al-Anfal, as we are now accustomed to the usloob and the way of the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, that he always mentions the dalil. And you always find him bringing his point or bringing his principle and then backing it up with the dalil, with the evidence from the book of Allah Azza wa Jal and the sunnah of his Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here he brought as an evidence for this principle the ayah wherein Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةٌ وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ لِلَّهِ, and fight them until there is no more fitnah and all of the deen is for Allah Azza wa Jal alone. And fitna here in this context, in this ayah, is referring to mada, is referring to shirk, referring to associating partners with Allah Azza wa Jal. Yani fight them up until there is no more shirk. There is no more shirk. And the deen is for Allah alone. And again, the deen in this context here is referring to ibadah, worship. That Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who is worshipped alone. And this is similar to what Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned when he said subhanahu wa ta'ala, قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ وَبِذَلِكَ أُمِرْتُ وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Say, O Muhammad, that indeed my prayer, my sacrifice, my living and my dying are for Allah alone, Lord of the worlds. He has no partner, and I've been commanded with this, and I am the first of the Muslims. I'm the first of those who submit to Allah Azza wa Jal. So, the meaning of the ayah in which Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah ta'ala brought is that there is, is that he mentioned, Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, fight them until there is no more fitnah. And the deen is for Allah Azza wa Jal alone. Meaning that all acts of ibadah, that all acts of worship is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that there is no shirk. لِأَحَدٍ كَائِنًا مَنْ كَانَ. There is no shirk, there is no associating of partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whomever that partner may be. And there is no difference in relation to the shirk that pertains to the awliya and the salihin, the righteous ones, and between that which is directed towards the ahjar and the ashjar, the stones and the trees and the statues and anything other than them. Then he went on to say, rahimahullah ta'ala, he went on to list now the evidence for all of that which he mentioned in relation to that which is taken as or that which is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he mentioned rahimahullah ta'ala firstly starting with the shams and the qamar, the sun and the moon. So he said rahimahullah ta'ala, فَدَلِيلُ الشَّمْسِ وَالْقَمَرِ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى, and the evidence for the sun and the moon is his statement subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارُ وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ لَا تَسْجُدُوا لِلشَّمْسِ وَلَا لِلْقَمَرِ وَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ الَّذِي خَلَقَهُنْ إِن كُنْتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ. And from among his signs are the night and the day and the sun and the moon. Prostrate not to the sun nor to the moon, but prostrate to Allah who created them, if you really indeed worship him. So Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah ta'ala, he brings this ayah as a proof to show that the sun and moon, that they are both objects of worship for the mushrikun. And this ayah refutes this from two angles. This ayah refutes this from two angles. Firstly, the prohibition of making sujood to them, the prohibition of prostrating to them, yani to the sun and the moon, where he said subhanahu wa ta'ala, لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر. Now, prostrate not to the sun nor to the moon. And the meaning of sujood in this context, yani sujood has been used here. Do not prostrate to the sun and the moon. And it's been used here, أيها الإخوة, yani not to limit it to only sujood, meaning do not make sujood to the sun and the moon, but yani everything else in terms of ibadah is exempt. لا. But rather sujood is used here to show you yani the makana, yani the station of sujood, that sujood is considered as the pinnacle of ibadah. So therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used sujood here in this ayah, but it relates to all or includes all acts of worship. It includes all acts of worship. However, sujood is used here in this context yani to show us the makana and the station and the importance of sujood. And that is from the greatest of the ibadat, from the greatest of the acts of worship. And as a side note, there is another benefit found within this prohibition of making sujood to the sun and the moon, and that is that within it is the prohibition of imitating the mushrikun. And that within it is the prohibition of imitating the mushrikun. And this is highlighted and shown in the fact that the Muslims have been prohibited from praying at certain times. And when are those times? That they are at sunrise and sunset. That the Muslims are prohibited, as has come and has been mentioned in the hadith, wherein the Prophet ﷺ said, صلي صلاة الصبح ثم أقصر عن الصلاة حتى تطلع الشمس حتى ترتفع فإنها تطلع حين تطلع بين قرني الشيطان. That he ﷺ said that pray the dawn prayer and then refrain from praying up until the sun has risen. Up until the sun has risen. For indeed it rises between the two horns of the shaitan. And the hikmah and the wisdom behind this prohibition is that the Muslims do not imitate the acts of the mushrikun. The Muslims do not imitate the acts of the mushrikun, particularly when it pertains to ibadah. So it is not thought that the Muslims are worshipping the sun as it rises, or they are worshipping the sun as it sets, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. But rather, it is known and it is clear that the Muslims worship Allah Azza wa Jal alone. And hence why we have been prohibited from performing the salah in these time periods. The second way in which this ayah refutes this is that it now comes with the amr, it comes with the command to make sujood to Allah Azza wa Jal. It comes with the command to make sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ الَّذِي خَلَقَهُنَّ إِن كُنْتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ. But prostrate to Allah who created them, if you really worship Him. Then Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah ta'ala goes on to mention the evidence pertaining to the malaika, pertaining to the angels, meaning the evidence showing that the mushrikun, that they take the angels as objects of worship, that they commit shirk in relation to their worship of the angels. They worship the angels alongside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we mentioned previously, that we said that all that which is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it falls into one of three categories. We mentioned previously that all of that which is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it falls into one of three categories. And the first one is that which we have just discussed and dealt with, and that was the inanimate objects. And the inanimate objects. And now we are mentioning another category from those three categories, and that is pertaining to the angels. And that is the worship of those who are not pleased with that worship, and they are free, truly free from the worship of the people. And included within this category are the angels. That the people worship them, however, they are not pleased with the worship of the people. And they are truly free from being associated as partners besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he brings the evidence for the angels, and that is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَيَوْمَ يَحْشُرُهُمْ جَمِيعًا ثُمَّ يَقُولُ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ أَهَؤُلَاءِ إِيَّاكُمْ كَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ قَالُوا سُبْحَانَكَ أَنْتَ وَلِيُّنَا مِنْ دُونِهِمْ بَلْ كَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ الْجِنَّ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِهِمْ مُؤْمِنُونَ. That is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal. And remember the day when He will gather them all together, and then will say to the angels, was it you that these people used to worship? They will say, Subhanak. So glory be to you. You are our wali instead of them. Nay, but they used to worship the jinns. They'd worship the jinns. And most of them were believers in them. So again, Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah ta'ala, that he mentioned this ayah to show us and to prove to us or to demonstrate to us the qubh, the repulsiveness of shirk. And that is that we find from amongst the mushrikun those who invoke and call upon the angels besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, this shows and highlights the fact that the mushrikun, that they are not united in that which they worship. That they worship different objects, however, it is still considered as shirk, and there is no difference between them. So as mentioned previously, the angels are from those who are worshipped, yet they are free from the worship of the people. We'll stop here bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and then next time we will continue with this principle, as it's not the end of the principle, but we will continue with it, where then Shaykh al-Islam Mohammad bin Abd rahimahullah ta'ala goes on to mention the evidence for the Anbiya, the prophets, and likewise the righteous. And we will come to that in our next lesson. بإذن الله تعالى ونكتفي بهذا وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.